بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Honorable ulama, huffaz, hujjaj, mothers and fathers, viewers and listeners, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. كيف حالكم؟ Alhamdulillah. My beloved brothers and sisters, we resume our study of fiqh on a Monday night, and we are closing Kitab al-Tahara in the next two sessions, inshallah. This session, and then we have one more session after this for Kitab al-Tahara before we move on to Kitab al-Salah, inshallah. So this evening, we are looking at the types of impurities, and this is a very important section because this evening we will look at the categories of impurities, and then next week, inshallah, we will look at how are those impurities, cleaned, how are they purified. And so the Shaykh writes, An-Najasat Thalatha, that the categories are essentially three. You get Mughallaba, Mukhaffafa, and Mutawassita. And then the Shaykh writes, Al-Mughallaba Najasatul Kalbi wal Khinzir wa Far'i Ahadihima. And Mukhaffafa wal Mukhaffafatu Bawlu Sabi الذي لم يطعم غير اللبن ولم يبلغ الحولين. And then the third category, المتوسطة سائر النجاسات. So what we learn from this tonight is that there are essentially three categories of impurity. Mughallaba, which means the heaviest form of filth, impurity. Mukhaffafa, the lightest form. And mutawassita, a moderate. And each category, as you will learn next week inshallah, is purified in a certain way. Hence, every believer, from the time you are mukallaf until you pass away, you need to be clear on how do you purify that particular type of dirt. Mughallaba and mukhaffafa are two fairly easy categories to identify. Mughallaba is your heavy category. This will require the most cleaning, and in this category is a dog and a pig, and anything that comes from them, or from the dog and the pig. That's your heavy impurity. Mukhaffafa is your lightest impurity, the easiest to clean, and there's only one criterion here, or one qualifying factor. It is the urine of a baby boy, right? A baby boy that has only fed on milk and has not yet reached the age of 2. Very specific. A baby boy that has only fed on milk and has not reached the age of 2, the urine of that baby boy is mukhaffafa, the lightest form. And then mutawassita, the moderate level, would be everything else, all other forms of dirt. So just some notes regarding these as I close now shortly, inshallah. When it comes to the baby boy, what we need to note here is when we refer to the baby boy drinking milk, it can be directly from the mother. It can also be, via a bottle, but provided that that baby boy is still consuming milk. And then secondly, with regards to this baby boy in the mukhaffafa category, the process of tahniq, which occurs at the time of naming the child, when you place a sweet substance, a date or honey, but particularly a date, this is excluded from it. So if a baby boy gets his name and the imam, the sheikh, the maulana puts a date in the mouth of that baby boy, that is excluded as long as the baby boy has just been drinking milk and has not yet reached the age of 2. And then the moderate mutawassita category, this would include your impurities across the board, inclusive of but not limited to urine, pee, excretion, feces, blood, pus, vomit, alcohol, wine, basically, any liquid intoxicant, then also anything which comes out of the male organ, that is all in the Shafi'i madhab. It includes, of course, wadi and madi, which would be the substance that comes out before ejaculation, and also the substance which comes out from the male when that male might be ill, a thickish substance which is not sperm, that is also impure. In the Shafi'i madhab, sperm is tahir, technically, in the Shafi'i madhab. In the Hanafi madhab, sperm is najis. Right? There's a difference in the madhabs regarding the ruling on sperm. Then slaughtered animals that may not be eaten, unslaughtered dead animals, and we exclude from this aquatic life, which is fish, and we also exclude from this locusts. Then the milk of animals that may not be eaten, that is also najis. And then the hair of unslaughtered dead animals, and the hair of animals that may not be eaten, that is also najis. So those areas that I've called out essentially fall into the category of mutawassita. And the benefit of knowing this, or these categories, is to determine how do you clean. So what's very easy for a believer is to know that your mughallaba, your heaviest category, would be dog and pig. And really, this is one area that most Muslims are in, and I will talk about how do you purify, but I've noted many Muslims are ignorant regarding the dog. The dog comes to you, you are walking with your thawb, a lady as well, anyone, you are walking and a dog comes up to you and sniffs you with their wet nose. And once a non-Muslim asked me, why am I running away from the dog every time, in the road? And I explained that the nose of that dog is a great impurity for me in my religion. And I will explain how do we purify that next week. But many people just wipe it away and they carry on, which is a great error in fiqh. So mughallada, anything related to dog and pig, and mukhaffafa is the boy younger than 2 only drinking milk and the urine of that boy. All other impurities go into mutawassita, the moderate category. So we close this evening by acknowledging that one must know the categories of impurity so that you can purify yourself for the purposes of the ibadah, inshallah. Next week I will touch on how do you purify for each category, inshallah. جزاكم خيرا وصلى الله وسلم عليه والحمد لله.